Hello, hello. Welcome to today's Instagram Live. I'm just popping on an impromptu live here. I want to talk a little bit more about the current energies, how people are feeling right now, some things to be aware of, some ways to prepare, and this very unique moment that we're in right now as we are bridging from old to new. So I'm going to give everybody who's hopping on the live a minute to come in, but those of you on the replay, you're here in real time with me as well in this infinite now, so feel free to say howdy on the replay. And those of you who are hopping on live, you're welcome to ask questions. Let me know how you're doing. I just popped off of a support call for God is My Boss, and such a good group this time, and we're really making moves and making progress, and there's a whole bunch of lit up generators and manifesting generators in the group, and so my projector self always leaves those calls feeling pretty lit, and I just felt the call to toggle on over here and connect with the Instagram squad. So let's talk about where we are energetically, collectively right now, and I'm always, as I'm speaking about this, really speaking to those of you who, which I really think is all of you, if you're in my space, those of you who know that you're here to make an impact, that have that soul sense at this point of I came here for a reason at this time, and you've been tracking those trends in some way, or working with that question of what am I really here to do? And for a lot of people, it's also this time where you've, like, that question of what am I really here to do is coming up. It's like you're back in the spiral, even if you've successfully answered that question in the past. And, many of the people that I work with are very high level leaders, people who have big communities, hundreds of thousands, millions of followers, heads of companies, things like that. That's like the high level leadership work that I've been doing over the last decade. And a lot of those people are in a place now where they're really saying, like, is this going to continue? And there are other folks who are in their own timing on the path, earlier on the path in terms of not having built something yet, who are engaging with very similar questions. Because what's happening right now is that our souls and our bodies know that the wheel is about to turn, that the paradigm is shifting. And we've known that the paradigm on Earth is shifting for many years, depending on when you tapped into this stream. 2012, 1987, harmonic convergence, if you know, you know. And it's like really go time right now. The change that we're going to experience in the next, let's call it 14, 15 months, is going to be, it's just the acceleration continues. And so where we are right now is this very curious in-between phase. And I want to speak to those of you who are questioning what's next. I want to speak to those of you who feel this like fire that's lit of, okay, I really think that I'm going to be expanding in a very powerful way, but then maybe doubts are coming in. And those of you who are live, feel free to let me know, what's the vibe check in your world right now? How are you feeling about your mission, about life? And I also want to speak to those of you who are feeling a sense of confusion or despair, or this sense of almost like a foreboding sense that of what's going to happen next. I put up a little video about this the other day, and talking about the nihilism that's present at this very end stage of the Pisces era that we've been in. And a lot of people resonated with that. I've been getting even more messages from clients and friends and colleagues who are, a lot of the sentiment has been this feeling of, my soul feels pretty good and is going to continue to go forward, but my human self feels really kind of like at the end of my rope. And what I want to offer you today, and someone says clear and confused. Yeah, that's actually, it's funny that you say that. In one of my higher level groups, Mission Mastery, last week, everybody was saying kind of funny paradoxical combos like that. Like, I'm clear and confused. I'm confident and I'm doubting. I feel energized and tired. We're in between worlds. And there's someone who's in one of my programs right now who she's been like the poster child for the metaphor in real life. Shout out to you if you're watching this, where I keep using this metaphor of we're between moving houses. It's like we're leaving the old house and we've started to move into the new, but there's still all this stuff in the old house that we have to deal with. And this person has literally been moving houses, and it's like they're halfway between both of the houses right now, and she's like living the metaphor in real time. But that's very much where we are right now, is this like in between stage. And if you can contextualize this feeling of what's going to happen, is everything ending, am I going to make it, you can ask yourself, what version of me is asking that? What version of me feels that way? Because we all have different aspects of self, and there is a higher self version of you that is emerging and blooming during this time, even if it's like a tiny little, the seedling is still underneath the soil. And we're in this very scorpionic moment right now as well, Scorpio new moon today. There's a version of you that knows why you're here. There's a version of you that is very excited to make it into 2026 and feel this spark of the new that's happening. It's like these series of catalytic moments that are occurring and bridging us into 2027, which is that the human design shift and the background frequency really changing. And it's almost like where the radio is being cut between this current now moment and what will be the past, where we can't really reference things in the same way. It's almost like when you accidentally lose files on your computer and you're just like, well, that file's gone. There's a lot of files that are getting deleted right now. Where one of my students was using the phrase the other day, clear the cache, like when you have to clear the cache on your computer to kind of like reset your browser. That's very much the energy right now. So what version of you is feeling despairing or confused or questioning if you're going to be able to make it? Because if you really tune in, that version of you is likely one of two things. Number one, it's one of the wounded aspects of yourself that really needs support in making it across the bridge. It's like the most scared part of you, where most of you is like having a party in the new era, and this part is just like is still at the effect of the past, is still navigating whatever that programming was, and that part of you needs to get scooped up, needs to have your inner parent say, I know you're scared, but we're gonna go. I mean, think about how a kid feels when they're going through a big transition, and you're like, it's fine, you're just going from one grade to the next, or one, whatever the shift is, and it feels really intense for them because that's just the nature of their life. It's this, they don't have a reference point for it in the way that you do. So it's either a part of you that really needs compassion, or it's a part of you that is an old version of you that's literally dying. It is like your victim survival self from the old world, the personality construct that you created to survive, and good job, you survived, you're still here. It's the version of you that has all of these coping mechanisms that served you well, even constructs of your mission self that like hustle in certain ways or relate in certain ways or run your business in certain ways. That version of you literally is not going to exist in the new paradigm. The next version of you is coming online, but this is classic identity death, ego death. And so really asking, like, what part of me is saying, can I make it? What part of me is saying, am I really gonna make it through? Because your essence and your soul is going to make it through, but it is true that there will be energetic, and we can think about it less even like a version of you dying, and it's more like energetic loops, architecture that your energy has been running through that is being collapsed, demolished, and cleared. And so this is really great. And if you can just, when that feeling of, am I going to make it comes up, because again, I've been hearing from so many people who are feeling that way, say, what version of me is saying that? And then you can start to practice, okay, this is the voice of my old self. How do I lay them to rest? And when you can get the witness consciousness on that old self, then we're really cruising, because then you're in your sovereignty, you're in your power, and you can lucidly move through this time and say a very graceful goodbye to versions of you. And these are protector parts. They're freaking warrior parts. If you're still alive right now, I've been through so much shit I can't even remember how much shit I've been through, right? The gnarliest, darkest experiences that humanity can go through. I know that if we were to all talk about it together, we would have a full bingo card of all of the horrible things that can happen to humanity and all of the specific programming that we've been through, where it's beyond, it's insane what we've been through. And the fact that we're still here by the grace of God and the power of our souls. And we are the bridge building generation. So we're making that transition between old and new. And so this is a transition point there. And the warrior, and you can feel into what archetype it is for you, the warrior that kept you alive is going to get repositioned. And what it means to survive and thrive in the new is going to be different. It's going to be more filled with faith and with soul and with creativity and with love. So I'm going to pause and let this land and see the comments here. I'm glad to hear this is resonating. 2027 came on fast. I can't believe we're almost already there. I know. We're cruising. It is coming up quick. Yeah. And I want to share with you that I'm doing a forecast for 2026. And it's not just like here's a couple of things that you might expect. It's a deep transmission, specific themes related to mission, related to service, mission-driven business, your soul's path, what it means to prepare and use 2026 as part of this cycle as we bridge into 2027. And that is happening on 12/12. And I've released a preparation meditation for everybody that signed up, and you get it automatically when you sign up now in our system. That is a way of tuning in, and the meditation is all about the medicine of your future self and crossing the threshold, becoming the you that you are about to become. And something I've been speaking with my students about in the last week or two has really been giving enough space for the planning process. This isn't some old Capricorn era, like, oh, it's December, 27th. Let me shoot myself out of a cannon into the new Gregorian calendar year. Or make just a mental decision of this is what my plan is for the year. Great. And my next goals. It's a contemplative process. We have to listen, because our future selves, they might even be on Instagram Live all together in the future now, sending us love right now, trying to give us messages, trying to say, let go of that thing, start that thing. So I wanted to offer that meditation, and I'm probably going to drop another resource or two as we lead up to the forecast for those of you who know that you are ready to start tuning in and you resonate with my consciousness stream and what I'm bringing through. So if you want to sign up now, you can just comment forecast either here or send it in a DM, any which way, or put it in the comments if you're on the replay, and my internet elves, aka my automation, will send it to you. I'm excited. It's one of my absolute favorite things to do every year, because it's just, there's so much rich data, and it is really important that we gather at this time, that we're on such individual journeys, and it's like blinders up, eyes on your own paper, focus on your own thing, and at the same time to be in connection with others. Really, it's less connection even, it's more like being in the field of resonance, right? Being in the field of there's a coherence here. We are attuning to a similar thing. We're in devotion to God. We're in devotion to liberation and creation. Yeah, internet elves is my funny way of acknowledging that it is not me. As I think many of you know, I'm very clear that I don't use AI in any of my creative process, and I'm also happy to have some some tech support so that I can do what I do best, which is what I'm doing right now. So it's really powerful to be in that shared field because we're all informing it, and that collective consciousness is rich with data and insight and upgrades for us all. So if you feel called to join the forecast, I'm excited for you to enter the stream now, and excited to see you for it. And of course, there'll be a replay if you can't come live. So we're in this moment right now where it's really a cleanup time. It's less about more things, new things ending, and it's more about the end that has already begun running its course. So what must we complete? What do we know is kind of hanging? What do we know that we need to clean out? What do we know is coming to an end? And how do we give it a graceful end, right? How do we not just, some things are just cut it off, keep on moving, don't look back. Other things deserve, or life is asking of us to give it a graceful burial, right? A funeral for your past self, a honorable discharge for time served, even I was speaking with someone in God is My Boss today, which is my program on spiritual business, which, by the way, we're going to have an exciting new way for those of you who haven't done God is My Boss yet, but you're feeling called. There's going to be a new way to do God is My Boss in 2026, in keeping with the new energy, so stay tuned. But someone, her business is changing. She's ending an old way of working. And we were speaking today about how she's not just cutting it all off and burning it all down. She's serving those clients one last time in the way that she knows how, with those gifts that she was given, so that it's like the difference between just abandoning a field that you've been growing crops in and being like, whatever, it's over, I got enough from the harvest, versus like laying it to rest, composting things so that the full life cycle occurs. So you're not just trying to jump from fall to spring, right? You're letting that decomposition take place. And it doesn't have to take very long, depending on the divine timing of your life, but it does require, or it invites us to take good care of what we've been given. So the assignment really right now is like, whatever fears are coming up, we're looking through them, we're facing them, we're alchemizing them, we're keeping the light on. And we're listening to ourselves as well, because you're going to hear a million different perspectives. Oh, new year, new you, get going. Or you're going to hear people say, like, it's winter, just relax, don't do anything. There's a retrogrades, don't do anything. You got to listen for yourself, because there are seeds that are already being planted. There are actions that you're already being called to take, even though you're tired, because you're tired. Because if you keep going, you will get where you're meant to go. And the most important thing is just to not give up. Even if you can only take one tiny little step forward, or you're just doing a little bit of your spiritual practice, what can you do to keep that light on and to keep moving and to start to attune to, I'm about to be unleashed into this new era where there's finally even more of a context for my gifts, for my work, for me being in flow, me being this divinely guided being that I truly am. So if you know that's coming, how are you preparing? It's kind of like knowing a house guest is coming. You're going to clean up a lot, and you're going to start to create. And this is the second thing that I'm offering folks right now, is my container that's called Mission Spring, which is for people who know that they are launching something in 2026, who have that soul level foresight of, even though I might be in, the underworld clearing things out, or in a death portal right now, I know that there's this assignment that I'm meant to call forward. And the tagline for Mission Spring is prepare to launch. And that is a traditional launch in the sense of bringing something new forward as like an offering within your business, but it's also even more than that, the launch of your new self. It is you debuting a new embodiment, you going from whatever smaller box, conditioned limitation, whatever old version of you that's dying. There's going to be a new version of you that's appearing like the sun on the horizon as it begins to rise. And Mission Spring is for those who know that that's happening and who want to start to build momentum now, so that by the time April hits and the collective fireworks are going off and everybody's got an Aries fire lit under them, you are positioned and you have something, like you're ready. I keep seeing the people who are going to be in this container, like they're going to hear people say to them, thank you so much for making this. Thank you so much for saying this, because it came at the exact right time. And they're going to say, oh my God, thank God, even though I felt like I was dying in December, January, thank God I started. Thank God I kept moving forward, because now like the new garden is starting to bear fruit in a way that's going to be very different than if you're like, oh, the new energy's here. Let me start the process then. So it's a very particular type of person, right? I'm not trying to pull anybody out of their death portal prematurely in terms of whatever composting and ending needs to happen. But if you do feel, if you're resonating with what I'm saying, then I invite you to go check it out and apply. You can comment Spring 26. That is the Internet Elf code for that. It's a 90-day group coaching container, and there's only 8 spots, and several of them have already been claimed by truly magical human beings. So, and we'll see, it's going to be 6 to 8. I'm going to feel into, it'll be absolutely max 8. But we're going to let the right coherent group come together. And it's a 90-day group coaching portal. So everybody gets direct feedback from me, amazing group coherence of we're all going to go and move forward. And you'll get the behind the scenes of how I'm doing that in my business and my life as well. I always like to share the kind of the BTS with my students who are in my higher level things, so they can see how I'm not just preaching it, but I'm practicing it. And it's January through April is the full 90-day portal of that, but we're going to do an initial kickoff in December so that we can kind of bridge from one Gregorian year to the other, and we'll be together for the February new beginning, the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, Lunar New Year. I'm very excited about Lunar New Year because I'm a horse, so that's my natal zodiac. So it's definitely a giddy up, get going year, but not in the old way. This is what I keep hearing and just speaking on is, it's the return of healthy masculine energy. It's the return of healthy creation energy, where we can move forward and build things, but not with the old burnout craziness that we've been so accustomed to. So for a lot of people, it's like breaking out of the stagnation. It's almost like you injured yourself running, and then there's a part of you that's like, I don't want to run again. But you love to run, or you love to jump rope, or whatever your thing is. And so we get to start to move again in a way that feels good without that. There's a lot of hustle culture, suppression of the feminine that is completing at this time, creating in a new way. So for any of you who are like, oh man, do I have the energy to go and build more? You will. It's going to feel different. So I feel like I'm coming to completion here with what I wanted to share today. Any of you who are live, you are welcome to ask any final questions about what I've shared. It's an honor as always to be with you all. I'm excited, right? If you can really get that different perspective on the intensity of this time and see it as like, oh, this is actually great. It's great that I feel like I'm in between worlds. It's great that I feel like a part of me is dying, because do I really want to keep being my survival self? No. So I'm going to go through the death process, right? So seeing it as a good thing and just keeping that light on and stay focused. And what I'm also hearing is, it's like, we can sometimes think during this time that, like, when that stagnation and that overwhelm hits, you can feel like, oh, I should stop moving, or I should give up, and there is a lot of rest that's needed at this time, right? A lot of integration and spaciousness. And at the same time, there's also a medicine of creation right now, where it's like, I feel a little funny because I'm in between worlds, but how different would I feel if I just like threw some paint on a canvas right now, if I went for a walk, or I had a little dance party, or I like reminded myself what I'm creating and just created a little bit more. There's creation and purpose really fuels us. Good question. Do you believe these opportunities and timelines are already destined? If we keep going, we'll get in alignment with that. What I feel is that there is an overall collective story that is playing out. There are multiple timelines that our collective consciousness influences in terms of how we will work with the energy. There is an overall background frequency that is shifting and evolving, and there's a cosmic clock that you can see turning in all of these different systems that's literally like the simulation of this realm and the cycles that it plays out, and the mythic storylines that play out that you can see. And if you are conscious, you can work with that to evolve your character, and you reach a point where you are so reunified with God and beyond the unconscious karmic clock of this world that you can be increasingly unaffected by these cycles, which is obviously what enlightened beings do, is they become completely lucid in the dream. And for a lot of us, it's this dance of never being a victim to the cycles that are playing out, and working with them and embracing, like, what is the collective story that's trying to play out right now? Why did I come here at this time? And I always say that there's that line that what is for you cannot miss you, but I always add, you got to be you in order to have that. There's a participation that must occur. If you're just chilling and you're not doing integration work, you're not looking at your shadow stuff, you're not facing your fears, you're not creating, you're going to get left behind in the fog. Straight up, because that is the Piscean end trap, which is the version of an expression of spirituality that is like where stagnation or surrender masquerades as stagnation, or stagnation masquerades as surrender. Mercury retrograde. And this feeling of like, if I just trust and flow, then like God's going to take me where I need to go. There's real truth in that, but we also came here to participate. And the energy, if we look at the cosmic cycles right now, it's moving into an energy of much more empowerment, much more individuation, where we're not becoming, we're all one because we're all becoming homogenized. We're actually all differentiating a lot more. We're becoming, human design is the science of differentiation. We are evolving into these unique expressions of ourselves out of the conditioning that has forced us into this, very limited mold. And that's what Richard Rudd talks about with the synarchy, where the end game is that we're all part of this self-organizing whole. So there's, to track back to this question, we have to be participating. We have to be following through on the divine inspiration that we're receiving. Otherwise, you'll be in an energy where you're just like, God's got me, but it's not co-creation. It's essentially like a collapsed energy that hasn't awoken to the God within, right? Hasn't resurrected the spark of the creator that lives within you. And that's very much the assignment. If you look at the Gene Keys evolution, Gene Key 55, the shadow, which is what we're moving into collectively in one way, the shadow is victimhood. And both the gift and the divine gift is, I think it's freedom. So we're really looking at these intricacies of disempowerment, these intricacies of like, where do I think I can actually be who I'm here to be? And that's when co-creation with God and life is so amazing, because you're an individuated being, like playing the game, participating, and getting to expand what is possible for your character in this game. And that's what we're moving into. Aries, the first sign, I am, individuation, and inspiration, excitement, going for it, permission to go for it, permission to look at where do I feel like I have to like hold back or be softer or quieter or any of that. Like there's a place for neutrality, sovereignty, being lucid, and having a level of emotional maturity and not doing things for external validation. But with all of that integrated, all those lessons that you've learned, cowabunga, what do you want to do? What do you want to create? We have to be in connection with that vital life force. And that is going to be the great blessing and invitation of this next year. And also the great challenge for some people is to get back in touch with what they love, to get back in touch with who do I get to be if I'm not my survival self anymore? What would I create if I was truly able to create what I want to create, which you are? There's this Julia Cameron quote where she says, we define as grandiose many schemes that with God's help fall well within our reach. And a quote from Florence Scovel Shinn where she says, I do not limit God by limiting myself. With God and myself, all things are possible. Both of these feel like quite the vibe for what's coming next. Creator selves activating. Thank you for these questions. Yeah. And this question here of, is this inspiration coming from a wounded place or my God self place? Yeah, it's a deeper inquiry. That's definitely stuff that we go into in my group containers and my different offers. We go deeper on that. And what I would say is that the medicine of this next era is not going to be ruminating upon that. I'm not going to move forward until I'm totally mentally clear that it's from God and not from my wounded self. It's how do I learn how to pray, learn how to receive divine guidance in an ongoing way. Say, God, and I'm not going to go into a whole channeling thing on that right now, but learn how to be in that ongoing dialogue, which starts to reorganize your life, and then get in the game, take action, and learn while you go, because it's a very fine line. It's very paradoxical, because we don't want to just be doing stuff that's from our mind and our conditioning, like, oh, it would be amazing if I could do this, and it's just a total mental projection and not actually the call of your soul. There's something to be aware of there for sure. And the shadow side of the kind of overly docile spiritual person, which is the result of a lot of what we've been through over the last few years, is that we just use almost spiritual perfectionism to not get in the game and to not create clarity while acting. And that's like, again, things are getting more physical. It's like, how does it feel in my body? How is life responding to me? That is going to be more of it is intuition, it is guidance, but it's also like what's literally happening in life. And if you have this vision, then try to make a prototype, do the next thing, right? So more of that participation in life is going to be called for. All right, folks, great chat. So glad to connect with you all. In conclusion, keep going. Don't get lost in the fog. Remember that it is your old self dying, not your whole self dying. And think about what you want to be creating. What's been a back burner dream that's just been kind of hanging out that you want to resurrect and put more energy into. And if you want to go deeper on the themes of 2026, if you want to receive a guidance meditation right now to start attuning with what's on the other side for you, then come to the forecast. You can comment forecast for that. And if you know that you're here to bring forward a unique contribution, you're going to launch this new version of yourself and your service after a death and rebirth cycle, or after a long time of being kind of small and more hidden, then apply for Mission Spring. Applications are open, spots are filling, and we're gonna be kicking that off sooner rather than later. You can comment Spring 26 for that. And that's a wrap. Have a good rest of your day. Love you lots.